Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, our monthly Ag in the Courtroom segment with Dr. Roger McEowen for the Washburn School of Law. We'll also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, and a weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, Progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919. KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com. In agricultural news from agview.net, the value of the U.S. dollar weakened substantially since March of last year. It's expected to experience modest deflation in 2021. A weaker dollar generally makes U.S. ag products more competitive on the global market, but not all commodities are affected equally given the diversity in global market competition and foreign exchange rates. Fundamental factors like tariffs and weather in key ag-producing regions often dominate market dynamics despite the currency headwinds or tailwinds, and should not be discounted, according to a new report out from CoBank's Knowledge Exchange Division. Tanner Emke is manager of CoBank. He says U.S. ag exports largely expected to continue at a faster pace in 2021 with the help from weakness in the U.S. dollar, but he says the research indicates some ag commodities like grains, oilseeds, and cotton will face a currency headwind. Emke is the head of that Knowledge Exchange Division for CoBank. Ongoing research trials on growing spring wheat in Kansas continue to indicate that producers can expect reduced yields compared to the more popularly grown hard red winter varieties in the state. But Lucas Haig, crop production specialist out at the Northwest Research Extension Center in Colby, said that the spring wheat might fit as a niche crop in some rotations and markets. Spring wheat may provide producers, he says, with an opportunity to grow a crop that's high in protein, content, and flavor product for baker's flour. Winter wheat indicates those varieties, of course, planted in the fall or winter for harvest or the following summer. Spring wheat usually planted in the spring and harvested about a week to 10 days after winter wheat harvest. Haig says planting winter wheat into fresh row crop stalks has missed success because the ground is usually dry and planting dates are later when optimal. And so when winter wheat is planted into fresh stalks, yields typically lower, he says. More ag news at agview.net. More in a moment. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
And joining us is Dr. Roger McEowen. Time now for another Ag in the Courtroom. As boy, it seems like there's always things to talk about. Dr. McEowen, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Ken. And you're right, there always are things in the agricultural law and tax world. It's never stops.
Well, I don't know if that's good or bad, but as long as we can kind of protect the interest, I think that's what we want to do. But
Right.
that's one of the things that we want to talk about, at least in this first segment, is something that's been in the works for quite a while, and dealing with the Packers and Stockyards Act and an amendment that has been made. If you sold your livestock and there was an issue, how can you get at least try to be made whole?
Yeah, the PSA actually has been around 100 years now. It was enacted in 1921. In fact, I think it was one of the Kansas senators at the time that was really instrumental in getting that law on the books. And it was designed to be, if you look in the congressional record, the most significant antitrust law that the country had. And it was specifically designed to deal with the practices of meat packers arising from a Senate investigation in the 1880s. So what's been going on in the packing industry that people think there are abuses today? Well, this has been going on for a long time. But one of the things that was put in the original PSA was several rules to make sure that cash sellers of livestock had some protection. One was a prompt payment rule, and another rule was a statutory packer trust. So if I sold as a cash seller of livestock, cattle, for example, to a meat packer that's covered by the PSA, and the meat packer went bankrupt, then my cash proceeds that I was to receive were to be held in a trust outside of the bankruptcy and wasn't caught up in the bankruptcy estate, so I would get paid. Now, the problem with that is that it doesn't necessarily, if you're not a packer or a covered dealer or market agency, then there was no protection. And so what has happened now is that the Congress, with that Consolidated Appropriations Act, that big spending bill at the end of December of 2020, that included in it a provision to create a statutory dealer trust. So if I'm a dealer in livestock, sale barn, those types of things, with a very low exemption, basically if the dealer has an average annual purchase of $100,000 or more, then all of their inventories or receivables or proceeds from the livestock purchased in a cash sale transaction have to be held by the dealer in trust until the unpaid cash sellers have been paid in full. So now they've taken that packer statutory trust and kind of brought it back down to the local level to provide some protection for cash sellers to these local dealers, the sale barns, those types of things that a deal that have more than $100,000 in annual purchases. And that's a pretty low threshold. So it's a good thing. I think this is going to provide additional protection for cash sellers.
Well, right, and it's something that maybe give them more assurance as still something that's very important. So, well, Dr. McEowen, let's take a break. We're talking with Dr. Roger McEowen, who is an ag law and taxation professor at the Washburn School of Law. We'll have more in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
And our guest is Dr. Roger McEowen, who is a taxation and ag law specialist at the Washburn School of Law. And Dr. McEowen, in this second part, we're going to talk about something that it's getting to be that time of the year, the annual burning, and the prescribed burning in Kansas is legal, but there's a lot of things you need to follow.
Yeah, Ken, already some of the cool season grasses have been burned, but we are coming into the primary burn season once we get into April, and particularly in the Flint Hills, but elsewhere. But the point of this is that Kansas has some fairly detailed regulations that have to be followed. It's not really much in the code. There's not much statutory law on this. It's all in the administrative regulations that have been developed by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And they set the rules there for conducting a prescribed burn. And basically, we start with the premise that open burning is prohibited unless you fall within an exception. And one of those major exceptions is for the open burning of agricultural lands that's done in accordance with the regulations. And that's the way it's phrased. And basically what they're focusing on are things that are common sense. You can burn vegetation such as grass and woody species and crop residue and other dry plant growth for the purpose of crop, range, pasture, wildlife, and watershed management. So if it's part of your farming practice to sustain that pasture, that's good pasture rangeland management because it helps you control the vegetation and weeds and so forth that would harm the growth of that. And so that's a good idea, but you've got to follow the rules. It's a good idea to notify local fire control authority within jurisdiction unless the county has said or the local jurisdiction has said you don't need to do that. And that's one of the things that can vary from spot to spot across the country. And make sure you're not going to create a traffic hazard. So watch your wind conditions. And so if the wind might result in the smoke blowing across the roadway, then you do have to give notice to the highway patrol, the county sheriff, or local traffic officials before you start that burn. Make sure you're not creating a visibility hazard for airplanes that are at a nearby airport. We have a lot of these rural airstrips, and so be mindful of that. Give notice if you might have a problem like that would occur. And then there are some additional regulations that apply in the Flint Hills. And during the month of April, there may be some prohibitions in certain counties. And a lot of that has to do with smoke affecting population areas such as Topeka and Kansas City. But as long as you follow the rules, you're not going to be held strictly liable for any problems that might result if that fire escapes and harms somebody else. And that's a key point for conducting ag burns in rural areas in Kansas.
Well, Dr. McEowen, both these issues we talked about today are very important, and we just kind of scratched the surface. We just don't have that much time in this format to go over it. So how can our viewers read more about this and even subscribe to your blog and your thinking on all these important ag issues?
Well, you can access my blog through my website, which is Washburn Walter, W-A-L-T-R. It's the Washburn Agricultural Law and Tax Report. And that's at washburnlaw.walter/edu. And on the homepage down the left-hand side, there's a link there for my blog. And there's also a little button that people can tap and get sign up for an email notification of when I add an article to the blog. And there's about 130 of those detailed articles that I write and include on the blog every year.
Very good. And even guys like me, non-attorneys, can make sense of most of them all the time. So,
Good.
Dr. McEowen, always great to talk with you. We look forward to next month's conversation as well.
I do too. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks. Dr. Roger McEowen, who is a tax and ag law specialist at the Washburn School of Law. He's joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Hi, my name is Josh Rowe. I'm Vice President of Market Development and Public Policy for Kansas Corn, which covers both the Kansas Corn Commission and the Kansas Corn Growers Association. The February 18th through the 19th, our Kansas commissioners met over the course of 2 days and decided on what is one of the primary things that we do as a commission and invest state checkoff dollars, and that is to determine what projects to fund in the realm of university and industry-wide research. It's really interesting just to see what all things that our Kansas researchers have in mind with utilizing corn. We heard proposals utilizing corn products to produce batteries, insulation for electric wires, as well as our foam seats within cars, even integrating ethanol into heavier duty diesel engines, and then of course our really core proposals on improving corn production practices and environmental components. All in all, I think the Kansas Corn Commission will fund just under $500,000 in university research that will stay here within the state of Kansas, benefiting not only Kansas corn producers on the production side to make their operation more efficient, but more and more emphasis on new uses such that we discussed before that will help with demand for corn not only in Kansas but across the nation.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Nearly 40% of rural Americans lack access to broadband, compared to just 4% of urbanites.
For me as a teacher, there's a couple families that, even though our county where I teach had offered free internet access to all families where possible, we had a couple families that did not have any access to internet due to their geographic location. One parent that had 4 kids, and they're trying to bring their kids into town to bump Wi-Fi where it's free or at their businesses to try to get their kids through their education. I think it makes it tough because right now they're saying in order to meet guidelines, whether schools are in person or online, that they're going to have to log those minutes in the classroom virtually. Well, if those kids don't have access to internet or decent internet, how are they supposed to log those minutes? So I mean, there is plans in place, so if we have to go back to virtual education, that we are prepared. And even though parents and kids are prepared, their Wi-Fi is not.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Brian Lennon, past chairman of the Kansas Wheat Commission, recently shared success stories related to exports, consumer outreach, and research in testimony to the Kansas legislature. Research remains the central focus of the Kansas Wheat Commission, which recently celebrated 7 years in the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center, which was funded by farmers through the wheat assessment. The commission also invested more than $1.3 million in research proposals for work that will help wheat farmers increase and improve profitability, plus ensure the quality and integrity of Kansas-grown wheat to end users and consumers. Lennon said, the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center represents the single largest investment by wheat producers in this nation, but it's not the only way in which wheat farmers invest in wheat research. Other Kansas wheat-funded projects are leading the way toward identifying genes that improve resistance to viruses, engineering resistance to pests, and phenotyping wild wheat ancestors for drought, disease resistance, and other traits. Nutrition education also remains a priority. Average monthly traffic to the Commission's Eat Wheat virtual campaign now totals nearly 65,000 visitors, boosted by COVID-19 pandemic consumer trends related to bread baking and cooking at home. Through Eat Wheat, Kansas Wheat shares farming practices and showcases the story of the American wheat farmer through recipes, crafts, and profile stories. The Kansas Wheat Commission also promotes hard red winter wheat to international end users through a partnership with U.S. Wheat Associates. Kansas farmers export roughly half of their wheat crop each year. Due to the pandemic, the Kansas Wheat Commission and market development partner U.S. Wheat Associates switched from in-person programming to virtual trade teams and crop quality seminars.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Growing up, Jeff and Ashley Goodman were both significantly involved in assisting their family farm operations. Now, they own a custom haying business and have a flock of Katahdin and Dorper crosshair ewes. In addition to their agricultural endeavors, the couple has strong community involvement. Ashley serves on the State Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee and is Vice President of the Jackson County Farm Bureau. Jeff dedicates his time to helping others in the community and maintaining their farm. The Goodmans believe it's an exciting time to be involved in agriculture, with so many changes and advancements taking place, and look forward with hope and vision for the agriculture community.
Are you looking for Medicare supplement insurance plans? Now is a good time to look at your options with Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans. A Medicare supplement insurance plan can help cover certain out-of-pocket expenses Medicare doesn't cover. Things like deductibles, co-insurance, and certain limitations that can be costly in the event of an accident or illness. With Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans, you have options to Medicare supplement insurance plans with 4 levels of affordable coverage and service from an organization known for its commitment serving Kansans. We encourage you to compare our rates. For more information and to get a quote, contact a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent near you or visit kfbhealthplans.com. Medicare supplements insured by Members Health Insurance Company, Columbia, Tennessee. Not connected with or endorsed by the U.S. or state government.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Does your health plan lack dental and vision coverage? With Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans, you can get a dental and vision bundle for yourself or your family at an affordable price, giving you the ability to maximize your benefits and lower your costs. Plus, you'll get a solid network of providers in one convenient package. Learn more at kfbhealthplans.com or contact a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent near you.
The Kansas Livestock Foundation now is accepting applications for 2021-2022 scholarships. Applicants must be graduates of a Kansas high school and enrolled at a Kansas community or senior college for the fall 2021 semester. The Merck Cartridges for Cash program offers $1,500 scholarships to Kansas State University veterinary medicine students and $1,000 scholarships to undergraduates studying animal science and planning to be actively engaged in livestock production. The county that turns in the most cartridges by February 28th will receive a Cartridges for Cash scholarship for at least one student from that county, providing there is a qualified applicant. Hample Oil and Mobile Delvac will offer $1,000 scholarships. Go Bob Pipe and Steel will sponsor a $1,000 scholarship. The new Central Life Sciences $1,000 Alstoid IGR scholarship will go to junior, senior, graduate, or veterinary students at K-State or Fort Hays State University. Proceeds from past Kansas Cattlewomen silent auctions and the 2020 Kansas Livestock Foundation Club Calf sale will fund $1,000 Kansas Cattlewomen and Youth in Ag scholarships. Stipends for $1,500 will be given in memory of Douglas A. Lau. Glenn and Clyde Lindstrom scholarships will be given in the amount of $1,000. In addition, Scott Johnson and family will provide a $1,000 scholarship. Also new this year is the Farmers Feed $500 scholarship. This award will be given to a student attending a Kansas junior or senior college, with preference given to students majoring in animal science and industry or agricultural communications and journalism. One application applies to all scholarships and can be accessed at www.kla.org. All materials must be digitally submitted by April 20th.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Good morning, guys. Colette here with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. While many look to get a start on planting this month, the reports seem to be the market movers, and many folks have been anticipating the month of March with Tuesday's supply and demand report and from the USDA and the planting intentions report later this month. However, this Tuesday's report didn't offer many changes to previous numbers, other than to increase world stockpiles of corn and beans. Markets were down shortly after, but closed up following the report after making fresh highs in the beans on Monday. Farmers and traders will be patiently waiting till month end to see what kind of numbers they get from the USDA then. In the meantime, it will be important to get your own numbers together. We are at levels we haven't seen in over 5 years. There are lots of things at play in the markets right now, whether here at home and in South America, Chinese dealing with ASF again, as well as COVID restrictions being lifted. We're getting back to some sort of normal, and there will only be more to keep us busy. Don't miss out on these levels. If you have questions about what you can be doing to take advantage of these levels or what a plan looks like for you, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Colette at Pinion, and we are excited about the marketing year ahead and helping you navigate it.
That's our show this week. Be social with us at kansasagreport.net or our social media channels. Spring is almost here, so let's stay Kansas strong. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. See you next week.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.